Hello guys, it's TKN here for a roundup of Falcom news. It's the last one of the year, but probably the most important as Falcom have just had their annual shareholder meeting. But first, let's catch up a bit on some notable news throughout November and December. So near on 2 months ago, it was announced that 2021 would mark the 40th anniversary of Falcom's inception, and they stated that they would be releasing several titles for consoles in celebration of this. Now the statement itself was fairly vague. As many of us know, Falcom normally release one new title per year and the rest tend to be ports or remasters, such as what happened in 2019-20. Luckily, with the shareholder meeting close at hand, these questions could at least be answered to some degree. They also announced they would be bringing more of their current titles to multiple platforms, which they are already doing with the help of Clouded Leopard. In reference to said shareholder meeting, Falcom stated that it would be taking place on the 17th of December, beginning at 1:30 PM Japanese time. Of note as well is that the meeting would be done in person despite the pandemic, though social distancing measures would also be enforced, which meant that shareholders would not get their customary gifts this year. Newsletters also went out around this time where it was confirmed that the newest game in the Trails series would be announced. More on that later. Of note is that there is another Falcom oriented day occurring on the 20th of December. Last month we touched on an event known only as Falcom Day, and since then we've got a bit more information in relation to it. There will be a preview livestream courtesy of Dengeki on the 19th, and the event itself will also see the arrival of various voice actors involved with the series. An interview with Kondo, a showcase of the latest Falcom news, most likely related to the new title, a live performance from the Sound Team JDK band, and other miscellaneous events like lottery draws for Falcom goodies. Unfortunately though, if you do want to watch the event, you're gonna have to pay up, 880 yen. I dare say there are some kind souls who will act as the eyes looking in though. Now let's move on to the games. Last month we saw that Clouded Leopard Entertainment were doing some fine work, as they are currently engaged in bringing the full hexalogy of Cold Steel and Crossbell to the Switch for Asian markets. And it looks like they've compounded that effort further, as Steam pages were made available for the Asian releases of Zero and Ao Kiseki Kai in mid-November, so Asia have pretty much got most of the Trails series available on every platform. Now I know what some people will say, this can only be good news for the West, as even if an official release isn't done, the Geofront can apply their patch to these Steam ports in particular. Well, sorry guys, this will not be happening if a statement by the Geofront is anything to go by. The patch that they have been working on is and was applied to the original PC ports of the games, not the Kai versions, and as such there are some considerable barriers to overcome. No pun intended. The main challenge cited relates to technical differences between the versions, so to refit the patch would in itself be a large undertaking, and the Geofront have already confirmed that they will not be committing themselves to this simply because they want to move on to other projects. They've been working on the current translations for a fair few years now, so it only makes sense that they are looking for something a bit different. Someone else could take on the project, sure, but it won't be them. But since we're talking about the Geofront, it's also worth noting that they're taking on submissions for the Ao Kiseki chest messages, just like they did with Zero. If you have any witty quips to store away and you feel it's good enough to be shown off in the final product, then you better submit it soon. There's also a bit of news regarding Akatsuki no Kiseki. Remember that one? The title has released a few Christmas-themed skins in celebration of, well, Christmas, and it's also beginning to round out its main story, which has been gradually fed through since its release. The first wave of this final chapter is on the horizon, so there's probably a few more segments to add in before witnessing the end of this one. Not sure what they're going to be doing after that, but I imagine we'll get some notifications in due course. Moving on to merchandise now, and there is a lot to get through on this front. Last month we touched on the Hajimari no Kiseki OST, which had recently at that point gone up for pre-order. And for those who were quick to the grid, we also got a picture of what their first print run version will look like. Falcom did something very similar with the releases of Ao and Zero Kai, providing a snazzy looking sleeve for those who are biting at the ankle, and it's no different here. I must say, looks very nice. Pre-orders for the Falcom calendars also ended on the 30th of November and have since begun shipping out. We got a few more glimpses of the images that are included in this calendar, which do indeed look awesome. Even after you've finished using it, you can still get some use from this beautiful artwork. Also, those who pre-ordered the calendars, no matter which one, will also get an added bonus in a magnetic poster, which will have a spoiler on it for Hajimari. And for that reason, I will not be showing it, yet if you have pre-ordered a calendar and have not played Hajimari, probably best to avoid looking at it if you can. The official visual collection of Hajimari no Kiseki was also slated to be going up on sale come the 28th of December, and we did get a front cover sample for it, but again I will not show this for spoiler reasons. As of yet though, the Falcom website has suspended all international shipping due to virus-kun, so you're going to have to use something like a proxy site once they put it up for purchase. And then out of nowhere there was a cluster of other stuff that seemed to jump out from the woodwork all at once. If you check out CharacterSeal.com, who sell goods centered on anime or similar styled video games, you will find puzzles, clocks, glass panels, acrylic blocks, coasters and adapters. A lot of adapters. I imagine these might also be available at the Falcon Day event, but I haven't seen any confirmation of that. Moving away from Japan temporarily, Pinbox has also had a little bit of a shake-up. For those of you who don't know who they are, they make licensed pins of some of your favourite games, notably Falcom with Trails and East pins available. They temporarily closed their store in light of a few concerns, the main one being international shipping, which seemed to be causing some issues, but thankfully they have since reopened with free shipping to the UK and USA subject to minimum order amounts, and it looks like they're here to stay. Again, I will vouch for the quality of the pins as I have some myself. I have opened my own set on a previous video and I couldn't be happier having them in my collection. And finally, like last month, I feel I have once again left the best till last. In October, we saw that Kotobukiya announced some Trails figures centered around Rin and Altina. Now we haven't seen anything more surrounding them yet, but I imagine we'll get an update soon. In the meantime, QuestQ, another manufacturer of high quality figurines, announced that they were also working on some new Trails figures. This time they decided to base it on the Cold Steel 2 art of Elisa and once again Altina. More Altina is always good for me. Again, nothing more has been said outside of this initial announcement, but I'd like to think we'll get more information very soon, possibly at the turn of the year. And now that we've caught up on that, it's time to move on to the big announcements, and I think it goes without saying there will be some minor nods to Hajimari no Kiseki here, nothing plot intensive though. But if you'd rather keep away completely, skip over to this time. A massive thank you to the likes of Juan and Hansuke who have provided a major chunk of this information. So first of all, we were meant to get this information on the 17th, but there was a leak at Famitsu which resulted in us getting this information one day early. Needless to say, they weren't too happy about it. But despite that, we finally have the name of the much anticipated 11th title in the Trail series, known as Kuro no Kiseki. In English, some people are leaning towards Trails of Darkness or Daybreak. And it's pretty much what we expected. It's the first game taking place in the multi-ethnic cauldron of Calvard and begins in the year 1208 of the Septium calendar, with the final episode from Hajimari no Kiseki acting as a prologue of sorts for the events we're going to see. This game in itself will already be quite an undertaking by Falcom. It's going to be very different from the previous iterations in the series. The new graphics engine, for example, will be utilised fully for the first time. In terms of structure of the arc, some people were a bit confused as it was mentioned that Kuro no Kiseki would end with a complete conclusion. From that, they assume that can only mean the Calvard arc will consist of one game, while others believe that the translation has been taken too literally. What is likely happening is that the game will end like Zero no Kiseki with no cliffhanger, and I'm inclined to believe this angle as well. It makes no sense to me that they would fit the whole of Calvard in one game, and since we're touching on the new location itself, the land of Calvard is described as being just a bit smaller than Erebonia. In terms of game time, Kuro will be about the same length as Cold Steel 1, which again leads me to believe there will be more than one title in this arc. A new battle system is also being introduced with more real-time elements, but apparently the player has the option of reverting to a more command-style focus if they choose. Arts and crafts are remaining within the game, but the use of brave orders and link attacks have been scrapped. On top of that, the Arcus units are being replaced with something called Zypher, so I don't know what's happened to the Ramda units from Cold Steel 3 and 4, something else to fathom. In terms of the characters, 90% of the roster that appears will be brand new, with the remaining 10% being characters who we have previously met in the series. I think some people might have an inkling as to who could be showing up based on that information. In addition to that, bonding events are returning but are going to be given a shake-up and a new name, and there is a unique system being brought in called Alignment Flame, which seems to be a system based around player responses. These choices will contribute to the player's alignment, lawful, grey or chaotic, and it will affect some aspects of the game, but don't worry, no scenes will be locked based on your chosen alignment. That's what we've been told at least. Moving on to the hardware, Falcom have stated that it hasn't decided yet, though the most likely for now will be PlayStation 4. Kondo has said though that he would like to release the game on any platform where demand lies, and it seems like a lot of hope is being placed on Kuro no Kiseki, as the Falcom president has said that a lot of resources has gone into this new periphery, and if it doesn't sell well, there won't be a sequel, as is the case with any game that sells poorly. The Trails series, despite being a flagship, is no exception to that. so we've got to show our support as much as we can when those pre-orders roll out. Finally, the main characters. We received a few images from the leaked Famitsu article, and it's natural that fans were curious regarding the characters being shown, who are mentioned as being in a profession known only as Spriggans, which is a unique underground job. It's so diverse that it could see them becoming investigators, detectives, or negotiators. It kind of sounds like the SSS, but more morally grey. They even have a shady building that acts as a headquarters. As a result of their line of work, there are fewer allies and more enemies, which also might suggest that the main cast of characters will be significantly smaller than the likes of the Cold Steel games, which will be good news for some fans. As for the main protagonist, Kondo has confirmed that the black-haired man, who yes, looks sort of like Rin, from the back at least, is the main protagonist of the new arc, though his wording might suggest that there could be more than just one in this game, especially if the Hajimari episodes are anything to go by. I personally think major roles are going to be more spread out in this game, as Falcom are likely going to show us the good, bad and ugly sides of Calvard, something they can only do from varying viewpoints. Based on these images alone, I'm already looking forward to seeing what direction the Trail series will take us next. The preview site was put up on Falcom's website on the 17th, so you can check it out if you're curious. Link is in the description. And that's not all, there were a few extra announcements given to us. In particular, Nayuta no Kiseki Kai is coming to PlayStation 4, and its own preview site was put up soon after. The game that was originally on the PSP is a title that was somewhat difficult to get a hold of, so now it's getting the cross-bell treatment is going to be much easier to access. I played the game earlier this year, and though it's mightily different from any other Trails game, if we can even consider it as part of the main series, I can vouch for its quality. It's one of the better looking games from the original PSP in my mind, and won't take too long to beat either if you've got other things on your list. It's also mighty interesting that this is happening, considering the rumours surrounding a certain character in Nayuta, and their connection to the main Trail series. I'll let you guys search that up for yourself. On top of that, Sen no Kiseki 4 is coming to the Switch in March 2021, so that's a nice addition for the Japanese market. And that is it guys, the last Falcom news video of the year is complete. We have a new game to look forward to, a remaster of a classic, and lots of merch to get our hands on as well. Good times indeed. Thank you for all of your support during this difficult year as well. The channel has grown faster than I could ever imagine during that period, and I have all of you to thank for that. Have a nice Christmas and New Year's, fellow bracers, and I'll see you again soon. Peace.